Up until now, I have focused mainly on young Earth creationism and how it is a religiously motivated, pseudoscientific conspiracy theory. I plan to shift focus slightly and take a closer look at climate change. The denialists claim that the environmental impact of human activity is negligible and that the climate would be changing anyway. I, and a significant percentage of scientists, argue that the rate at which the climate is changing is accelerating rapidly, and that it is due largely to the fact that humans have been burning coal, oil, and natural gas at an increasing rate since the Industrial Revolution. It is useful to think of these fossil fuels as stored sunlight. Plants and algae have been photosynthesizing for hundreds of millions of years. They have been sucking carbon dioxide molecules out of the air, holding onto the carbon atoms to build their structures, and releasing the oxygen atoms back into the atmosphere. Fungi and bacteria eat dead plant matter as well as nutrients in the soil. They even eat rock, which help the plants to gain nutrients other than carbon. Animals eat the plants, and their waste products go back into the soil, which is recycled by insects, worms, bacteria, and fungi, and so these natural processes continue for eons of time. So, much of the carbon which is absorbed by plant life is released back into the atmosphere by a combination of their own respiration — they breathe out carbon dioxide at night — decomposition by fungi and bacteria, as well as animals which breathe. But some of the carbon is retained in the soils. Soil builds up over time, which is a very important point I'm going to keep coming back to. But also, what we now recognize as coal and oil were once plants. Given the fact that there is about 9 times as much carbon stored underground in the form of coal and oil than all of the plants and trees on the Earth's surface, the biomass, we need to recognize that nature took a very long time to store it there, and we've been burning it for a couple of hundred years. I've tried to encapsulate ecology in a few sentences, and needless to say, it's drastically oversimplified. But the point relevant to this video is that humans have upset the natural balance and are, unwittingly for the most part, destroying the ecosystem upon which we all depend for our very survival. The key point to understand is that burning fossil fuels which took millions of years to form, within a couple of hundred years, is causing the composition of the atmosphere to change much faster than any time in the past. Gradual climate change gives plants and animals time to evolve into new ecological niches. In the past, such as 65 and 250 million years ago, rapid climate change did cause mass extinctions. Those are the exceptions, however, not the rule. That is similar to what we are facing now. Human activity has already caused countless extinctions. Why can't climate change deniers see that a single human lifetime is only a snapshot and cannot be compared with previous eons where the change was orders of magnitude more gradual? Due to existing infrastructure and civilization, it would be impossible to suddenly stop burning fossil fuels. We need to reduce the amount we consume, at the same time as promoting and drastically increasing renewables such as wind, wave, and solar. We also need to address the fact that our population is increasing exponentially, and with that, so has the demand for resources including fossil fuels. Although overpopulation is a problem, I think that the bigger problem is the burden we are putting on nature by living in technologically advanced societies which harvest nature's capital rather than live off the interest. It doesn't have to be that way. We could all live like the Amish. Of course, that's not going to happen, but for me at least, I could imagine a lot of people being a lot happier and less stressed out. Another thing I will touch on briefly here is permaculture. Among its techniques are the construction of earthworks which are designed to capture rainwater and instead of it running over the surface and causing floods, allow it to slowly percolate through the ground, which means that the plant life growing there can survive for much longer during dry periods. Also, having the shade of a green canopy cools the ground below and reduces evaporation. The plant life encourages birds, insects and fungi, and an ecosystem can appear in places which were formerly desert. Before long, organic matter is added to the soil and carbon is stored there. This detail is relatively new to me. The soil is a massive carbon sink, and given the fact that human activities, such as allowing uncontrolled grazing and slash-and-burn agriculture, is causing deserts to spread, we have enormous potential to reverse the desertification process and suck carbon back out of the atmosphere and store it in ecosystems and the soil. Surely, even a hardcore climate change denier can see the value of reversing desertification. After all, watersheds such as forests filter the air, reduce erosion, and regulate the water cycle. Surely anyone who can think and who is remotely concerned about the well-being of their children and future generations can recognize that it would be a good idea to err on the side of caution, to listen to the scientists who say that burning every last drop of oil and every last chunk of coal might not be the most sensible thing to do. The Earth's atmosphere consists of just over 5 quadrillion tons of gases, 800 billion of which are carbon dioxide. This figure has gone up from less than 600 billion tons since human burning of fossil fuels took off in the Industrial Revolution. That's an increase from 280 to 400 parts per million. Currently, we are adding about 9 billion tons per year. 3 billion of this is absorbed by plant life and 2 billion is absorbed by the oceans, which anyone who understands how drinks can be fizzy should recognize as acidification. Think carbonic acid. This means that nature is reabsorbing 5 billion tons per year, which makes a difference of 4 billion tons. Hence the fact that carbon dioxide levels in the atmosphere are increasing as we speak. In order to reduce the atmospheric carbon dioxide from 400 parts per million to 300 or less, we need to plant billions of trees in areas which have been deforested. We also need to increase the use of farming methods such as permaculture and agroforestry. In addition to this, we need to combat desertification by using the above methods and more, combined with irrigation, to actually grow crops on desert margins. This will help to capture carbon from the atmosphere and store it, in the form of organic carbon, in the soil. This is in addition to the carbon being stored in the bodies of plants, shrubs and trees, not to mention algae, fungi, bacteria and animals. Some of this is already being done in Western Africa, China, Jordan and other places, but it is not enough. What do climate change deniers have to gain from belittling the effects of human activity on the ecosystem? Is it because they think business as usual is a good thing? If they are wrong, we all suffer. If we are wrong, after implementing the changes such as reforestation that we recommend, we have cleaner air to breathe and cleaner water to drink. I hope that our children and grandchildren and future generations don't look back on this generation and say, we did too little too late.